The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Sunset Beach as Emma Rodriguez guided her chestnut mare, Luna, along the shoreline. It was their routine evening exercise, a peaceful ritual they'd shared for years. Luna's hooves left delicate imprints in the wet sand, rhythmically moving in sync with the gentle waves. Emma loved these moments of quiet connection, just her and Luna against the vast ocean backdrop. Suddenly, Luna's gait changed. Her ears perked forward, and her muscles tensed beneath her sleek coat. Something had caught her attention. Emma initially thought it might be a seabird or driftwood, but Luna's behavior was different, more intense, almost purposeful. Without warning, Luna stopped and began pawing at the sand. Not the casual scraping horses sometimes do, but deliberate, focused digging. Her powerful hooves moved with surprising precision, throwing sand behind her in quick, determined motions. Emma had never seen Luna behave like this before.
Luna, stop!
Emma called, uncertain what had triggered this unusual behavior. But the horse seemed completely absorbed, her entire body now angled downward, digging faster and more frantically with each passing moment. Something was definitely not right. Emma approached Luna cautiously, her heart racing. The horse's digging had become more intense, creating a growing depression in the sand. Luna was typically a calm, well-trained animal, and this behavior was completely out of character. As a professional horse trainer with 15 years of experience, Emma knew horses could be unpredictable, but this seemed different, almost deliberate.
Luna, what are you doing?
She muttered, moving closer. The mare continued digging, her muscular haunches working rhythmically. Sand flew in all directions, creating a small crater that was now nearly 2 feet deep. Emma noticed Luna's breathing was heavy but controlled, her movements precise and calculated. It wasn't the frantic, panicked digging of a spooked animal, but something more methodical. As the afternoon light began to fade, casting long shadows across the beach, Emma pulled out her phone. She considered calling her veterinarian, Dr. Michael Thompson, but something held her back. The horse didn't seem distressed. If anything, she seemed focused, almost determined. Luna suddenly paused, lifting her head and turning slightly. Her eyes, usually soft and brown, now seemed alert and intense. Something glinted in the sand where she had been digging, a metallic reflection that caught the last rays of sunlight. Emma's professional training kicked in. She'd worked with horses her entire life, training competition horses and helping rehabilitate rescue animals. She knew Luna wasn't prone to random behaviors. This wasn't a moment of equine whimsy. This was purposeful action. The beach was relatively isolated. It was a private stretch of coastline near her family's property in Southern California, an area her grandfather had owned for decades. The terrain was familiar, yet something felt different today. Luna continued her methodical excavation, now pushing sand away with her nose, seemingly searching for something specific. A chill ran down Emma's spine. The horse's behavior was too deliberate to be random. Luna had always been more intelligent than most horses she'd worked with, a trait that had made her an exceptional competition horse before a leg injury had ended her racing career. But this was something else entirely. As the digging continued, Emma noticed the sand was changing color and texture. What had started as typical beach sand was now revealing something darker, more compact. Luna seemed to sense this too, her digging becoming more focused, more urgent. The sun was setting now, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples. The beach, usually peaceful, now felt charged with an unexplained tension. Emma realized she needed to document what was happening. She pulled out her phone and began recording a video, capturing Luna's precise movements and the growing hole in the sand.
Something's not right.
She whispered to herself, zooming in on Luna's determined face.
What are you trying to tell me?
Little did Emma know, the next few hours would change everything she thought she knew about her horse, her family's history, and the seemingly ordinary stretch of beach she had walked countless times before. Emma's mind raced with possibilities as Luna continued her relentless digging. The horse's behavior was becoming increasingly unsettling. She remembered stories her grandfather used to tell about this stretch of coastline, tales of local history, shipwrecks, and old maritime legends that seemed more like folklore than fact. She pulled out her phone and dialed her grandfather, Robert Hartley, a retired maritime historian who had spent decades researching the coastal regions of Southern California. At 78, he was still sharp and always eager to share his extensive knowledge.
Grandpa,
She said when he answered, her voice trembling slightly.
Luna's acting strange. She's digging on the beach and it doesn't feel normal.
Robert's response was immediate and unexpected.
Where exactly are you?
He asked, his tone suddenly serious. Emma described her location, a secluded stretch of beach about 3 miles from the main coastal road, an area her family had owned for generations. She could hear her grandfather's breathing change, a mix of excitement and something else. Concern? Anticipation?
Don't move.
He instructed.
I'm coming right now.
While waiting, Emma continued observing Luna. The horse's digging had become more systematic, almost surgical in its precision. She'd worked with Luna for years, understanding every nuance of her behavior. This was different. This was purposeful. Luna had been a champion racehorse before an injury ended her competitive career. Emma had rescued her 5 years ago, rehabilitating her and forming an incredibly close bond. They'd spent countless hours together, training, riding, exploring. Never had Luna displayed such focused, determined behavior. The beach was quiet except for the rhythmic sound of waves and Luna's occasional snort. The sand was now disturbed in a significant area, creating a depression that looked more like an archaeological excavation than random horseplay. 30 minutes later, her grandfather's vintage Land Rover came bouncing down the beach access road. Robert Hartley emerged, moving with surprising agility for his age. He was dressed in his typical outfit, khaki pants, a worn leather jacket, and a weathered explorer's hat that seemed more suited to an Indiana Jones movie than a California beach.
Show me.
He said simply, approaching Emma and Luna. Emma pointed to the growing hole. Her grandfather knelt, examining the exposed sand with a practiced eye. He pulled out a small magnifying glass from his jacket pocket, something he always carried, a habit from his years of historical research.
Interesting.
He muttered, more to himself than to Emma.
What?
She pressed.
Grandpa, what's going on?
Robert stood, his face a mixture of excitement and something else. Apprehension.
This area has a history,
He began.
one that most people don't know about.
He explained that during World War II, this stretch of coastline had been a strategic monitoring point. There were rumors of hidden caches, emergency supply drops, and covert military operations that were never officially documented. Luna continued digging, seemingly oblivious to their conversation. Her movements were calculated, her focus unwavering.
She knows something.
Robert said quietly.
Horses have incredible instincts. They can sense things humans can't.
As the afternoon light began to fade, casting long shadows across the beach, Emma felt a growing sense of anticipation. Something was about to be revealed. Something that had been hidden for decades. Her grandfather pulled out his phone and made a quick call to an old colleague at the local historical society. His hushed conversation suggested this was more than a simple beach discovery. Luna paused, lifting her head and looking directly at Emma and Robert. Her eyes seemed to hold a message, a silent communication that sent a chill down Emma's spine.
We need to be careful.
Robert warned.
Some secrets are buried for a reason.
The beach, once peaceful, now felt charged with an electric tension. Luna's digging had transformed a routine afternoon walk into something that promised to unravel a mystery decades in the making. As darkness began to approach, Emma realized this was just the beginning of what would become an extraordinary journey of discovery. The morning had started like any other coastal California day. Misty, cool, with a gentle marine layer slowly burning off to reveal pristine sandy beaches. Emma Thompson had been riding Luna along the secluded stretch of coastline near her family's property, a routine she'd maintained for years since retiring the horse from competitive racing. Luna was no ordinary horse. A purebred Arabian with championship bloodlines, she'd been a rising star in endurance racing before a career-ending injury. Emma had rescued her, rehabilitating the magnificent creature. and forming an almost telepathic bond over the past 5 years. They knew each other's rhythms, movements, and moods, with an intimacy that went beyond typical human-animal relationships. Today felt different from the moment they left the stable. Luna was more alert, her ears constantly swiveling, her muscles tense beneath her sleek chestnut coat. Normally, their beach rides were relaxed, long, sweeping gallops followed by leisurely walks, where Luna would occasionally stop to investigate interesting scents or tracks in the sand. But this morning, something was off. As they approached a particularly isolated section of beach, a stretch Emma knew intimately, having grown up exploring these coastlines, Luna's behavior became increasingly erratic. Her usual smooth gait became jerky, interrupted by sudden stops and nervous head movements. Emma first noticed something unusual when Luna began snorting, not the casual snorts of a horse enjoying a morning ride, but sharp, almost alarming exhalations that suggested heightened awareness. Experienced horse owners understand these subtle signals, and Emma knew Luna was detecting something.
What is it, girl?
She murmured, gently patting Luna's neck. The horse's response was immediate and unexpected. She stopped dead in her tracks, front hooves digging into the sand, with a deliberateness that felt almost calculated. It wasn't the random scratching of a horse enjoying the beach. This was purposeful, targeted. Emma dismounted, her riding boots sinking slightly into the damp sand. She surveyed the area, seeing nothing unusual. The beach here was relatively untouched. No visible debris, no signs of recent human activity. Just pristine sand, scattered driftwood, and the rhythmic sound of waves. Luna continued her strange behavior, pawing at the ground with increasing intensity. Her movements were methodical, creating a distinct pattern that seemed more like an excavation than random horseplay. Each scrape of her hoof removed a precise layer of sand, revealing glimpses of something beneath the surface. As a former competitive rider and current horse rehabilitation specialist, Emma had seen countless horse behaviors. Horses communicate through movement, through subtle shifts in posture and energy. But this was different. This felt like a message, a communication beyond typical animal instinct. She pulled out her phone, considering calling her grandfather Robert. At 78, he was a renowned maritime historian who knew every inch of this coastline's history. If anyone could provide context to Luna's strange behavior, it would be him. Before she could dial, Luna let out a low, unusual sound, part whinny, part grunt, that sent chills down Emma's spine. It wasn't a sound of distress or excitement. It was a sound of recognition. The horse continued digging, now creating a substantial depression in the sand. Emma noticed something glinting momentarily in the excavated area, a metallic reflection that disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. Her mind raced with possibilities. This stretch of California coastline had a rich, complex history. During World War II, it had been a strategic military zone, coastal surveillance, emergency supply caches, secret military installations. The area was steeped in untold stories. Luna's digging became more intense. Sand flew in calculated arcs, revealing what seemed to be the edge of something solid, a container, a metal object. Whatever it was deliberate, buried with intention. Emma's training kicked in. She knew horses possessed extraordinary sensory capabilities. Their hearing was exponentially more acute than humans, capable of detecting sounds and vibrations imperceptible to people. Their sense of smell could identify complex chemical compositions from remarkable distances. But this felt different. This felt like purpose. As the morning fog began to burn away, revealing brilliant California sunlight, Emma realized this was no ordinary morning beach ride. Luna had discovered something that had remained hidden, perhaps for decades. The horse continued her methodical excavation, each movement precise, calculated. Something was buried here, and Luna was determined to uncover it. Little did Emma know, this moment would mark the beginning of an extraordinary journey that would connect past and present in ways she could never have imagined. As Luna's powerful hooves continued to dig, a distinct metallic edge emerged from the sand. Emma leaned closer, her heart racing. The object was rectangular, a approximately the size of a small briefcase with a dull grey surface partially obscured by decades of sediment and corrosion.
What have you found?
She whispered to Luna, who remained intensely focused on the excavation. Carefully, Emma brushed away the surrounding sand, revealing more of the object's surface. Rust-coloured edges suggested it had been buried for considerable time. The metal appeared to be some kind of military-grade container, its corners reinforced with what looked like heavy-duty welding. A faint etching was barely visible on one side, partially worn but still discernible. Emma squinted, trying to make out what seemed like a series of numbers and possibly a partial military designation. Her grandfather's stories about wartime coastal operations suddenly flooded her memory. Luna stepped back, allowing Emma a clearer view. The container was now mostly exposed, sitting in a sandy depression created by the horse's precise digging. Its presence felt deliberate, not like random debris washed up by ocean currents, but something intentionally buried. Emma's hands trembled slightly as she reached toward the object, her archaeological training battling with a growing sense of anticipation. Whatever was inside this container had remained hidden for decades, waiting to be discovered. Emma's hands shook as she dialed 911, her eyes never leaving the partially unearthed metal container. The dispatcher's calm voice contrasted with her racing heartbeat.
San Diego County Emergency Services, what's your situation?
The operator asked.
I'm at Sunset Beach, and my horse has just uncovered what appears to be a buried metal container.
Emma explained, trying to keep her voice steady.
It looks old, possibly military, and I'm not sure if it's safe to touch.
Within minutes, the local sheriff's department responded. Deputy Mark Rodriguez arrived first, his patrol vehicle kicking up sand as it approached. He was a seasoned officer, having worked coastal patrol for over 15 years, and something about this scene immediately caught his attention.
Tell me exactly what happened.
Rodriguez requested, examining Luna and the partially exposed container. The horse stood protectively near the discovery, her ears alert and her stance unusually rigid. Emma recounted the morning's events. She'd been taking her 12-year-old Arabian horse for a routine beach walk, something they'd done hundreds of times before. Luna had always been intuitive, but today's behavior was different. The horse had suddenly stopped, begun pawing at the sand with increasing intensity, and then started digging with a determination that seemed almost purposeful.
How long did she dig?
Rodriguez asked, pulling out a notepad.
About 20 minutes.
Emma responded.
At first, I thought she might have spotted a crab or some buried driftwood, but then I saw the metal edge.
The deputy radioed for additional support. Within 30 minutes, a forensic team arrived, along with a specialized archaeological investigator from the local university. Dr. Elena Martinez, a renowned expert in coastal historical artifacts, approached the scene with professional curiosity.
This isn't typical beach debris.
Dr. Martinez muttered, examining the container without touching it. She pulled out a specialized measuring device and began scanning the object, her professional demeanor masking what seemed like growing excitement. Local news crews began to arrive. Having picked up the emergency dispatch, cameras started rolling, capturing the unusual scene of a horse, a container, and a growing cluster of professionals on the usually quiet stretch of beach. Rodriguez established a perimeter, keeping curious onlookers at bay. The container remained partially buried, its secrets still concealed. Speculation began to spread. Was this a forgotten military cache? A smuggler's hidden stash? Or something more mysterious? Emma stood nearby, Luna still close to her side. The horse seemed unusually calm, almost as if she understood the significance of her discovery. Dr. Martinez approached Emma with a series of questions about the exact location, the horse's behavior, and the morning's events.
Your horse's behavior is remarkable.
Dr. Martinez noted.
Animals sometimes sense things humans cannot. The precision of her digging suggests this wasn't random.
As the afternoon wore on, specialized equipment was brought in. Ground-penetrating radar would be used to assess the container's full dimensions and potential contents without disturbing it. The beach, typically a place of relaxation and recreation, had transformed into a scene of intense professional investigation. Emma couldn't shake the feeling that Luna's discovery was more than just a random occurrence. Something significant was about to be revealed. A story that had been waiting, buried in the sand, for potentially decades. The container sat silently, holding its secrets, as professionals prepared to unravel its mystery. As the afternoon light cast long shadows across Sunset Beach, the initial investigation into Luna's mysterious discovery began to take shape. Dr. Eleanor Martinez coordinated with a team of specialists, each bringing unique expertise to unravel the container's potential significance. The forensic team carefully cleared the surrounding sand, revealing more of the container's exterior. It was made of a weathered metal, possibly an aluminum alloy, with subtle markings that suggested military origins. Dr. Martinez photographed every inch, her trained eye catching details that might escape less experienced investigators.
This isn't standard military storage.
She explained to Deputy Rodriguez, pointing out specific corrosion patterns.
The composition and wear suggests something from the mid-20th century, possibly dating back to the 1950s or early 1960s.
Emma remained nearby, Luna standing protectively close. The horse seemed unusually calm, occasionally nudging Emma's shoulder as if reassuring her. Local news crews had set up a perimeter, their cameras capturing every moment of the unfolding mystery. Ground-penetrating radar revealed the container was larger than initially estimated, approximately 1.5 meters long and nearly a meter wide. Initial scans suggested multiple compartments within the container, each potentially holding different items. As the investigation progressed, a team from the local Maritime Historical Society arrived. Dr. James Henderson, a retired naval historian, brought additional context.
This area has a rich maritime history,
He explained.
During the Cold War, this stretch of coastline was a strategic location for various military operations.
The forensic team worked meticulously, using specialized tools to carefully extract the container without damaging its contents. Each movement was calculated, each action documented. Protective tents were erected to shield the investigation from curious onlookers and potential environmental interference. Emma learned more about the investigation process. Specialized preservation techniques would be used to prevent damage to any potentially fragile contents. Humidity levels were monitored, temperature controlled, and every step carefully documented. By late afternoon, the container had been partially extracted. Its exterior revealed more intriguing details, faint stenciled markings that suggested a military classification code. Dr. Martinez consulted with colleagues, running the code through various historical databases.
We're looking at something potentially connected to classified maritime operations.
She told Rodriguez.
These markings indicate a specialized unit, possibly related to underwater reconnaissance or intelligence gathering.
Local authorities began reaching out to federal agencies. The U.S. Navy's Historical Research Division showed immediate interest. A secure communication channel was established to share preliminary findings. Emma's involvement became increasingly significant. Investigators wanted to understand more about Luna's behavior. Veterinary experts were called in to examine the horse, conducting preliminary tests to understand her unusual sensitivity.
Horses have remarkable sensory capabilities.
Explained Dr. Rachel Thompson, a veterinary behavioral specialist.
Their hearing and sense of smell far exceed human capabilities. Luna might have detected something we can't perceive: chemical signatures, subtle ground vibrations, or residual electromagnetic traces.
As evening approached, the investigation took on an almost theatrical quality. Powerful lights illuminated the beach, creating a stark contrast between the dark sand and the bright investigation area. Specialized containment units were brought in to safely transport the container to a secure forensic laboratory. Local residents gathered at the beach's edge, sharing theories and speculation. Some recalled old stories about maritime mysteries, submarine operations, and Cold War-era secrets. The container had transformed a quiet beach into a center of intrigue. Emma found herself at the center of an unexpected adventure. Luna, who had always been more than just a horse, a companion, a friend, had potentially uncovered something significant. The bond between horse and owner seemed to take on a new dimension. By nightfall, the container was carefully loaded onto a specialized transport vehicle. Dr. Martinez gave a brief statement to the press, carefully managing expectations while highlighting the potential historical significance of the discovery.
We're looking at a potentially important historical artifact.
She explained.
Our initial assessment suggests this could provide valuable insights into maritime operations during a critical period of global history.
As the beach returned to its usual quiet state, the mystery deepened. What secrets did the container hold? How had Luna known exactly where to dig? The investigation was just beginning, and the most exciting revelations were yet to come. Emma watched the transport vehicle disappear into the night, Luna standing quietly beside her, a silent guardian of the day's extraordinary events. As news of the mysterious beach discovery spread, the small coastal community of Sunset Cove became a hotbed of speculation and intense curiosity. Local diners, coffee shops, and community centers buzzed with theories about the container Luna had unearthed. The first wave of speculation centered on Luna herself. Emma Thompson's horse had become an overnight sensation. Local media outlets ran continuous coverage, interviewing Emma about Luna's extraordinary behavior. Veterinary experts were brought in to analyze the horse's unique sensory capabilities.
It's remarkable.
Dr. Rachel Thompson explained during a live television interview.
Horses have an incredible ability to detect subtle changes in their environment. Luna's precise digging suggests she was responding to something most humans would never notice.
Social media exploded with theories. Amateur historians, conspiracy theorists, and local residents began piecing together potential narratives. Online forums dedicated to maritime mysteries and historical investigations cropped up overnight, with users dissecting every available piece of information. At the local Maritime Museum, curator Michael Reynolds organized an emergency meeting with regional historians. The container's initial markings suggested a connection to classified maritime operations from the mid-20th century. Old naval charts were pulled out, maritime records examined with renewed intensity.
We're looking at something potentially significant.
Reynolds told a group of local researchers.
These markings are consistent with specialized maritime reconnaissance units operating during the Cold War era.
Federal agencies began to take notice. The U.S. Navy's Historical Research Division dispatched a team of specialists to Sunset Cove. Unmarked government vehicles started appearing around the town, adding to the growing sense of intrigue. Emma found herself at the center of an unexpected media storm. Local and national news outlets sought interviews, each hoping to get an exclusive angle on the discovery. Her quiet life as a horse trainer had been transformed overnight.
I never expected any of this.
Emma told a reporter from a national news network.
Luna has always been special, but I never imagined she'd uncover something like this.
The container itself became a subject of intense speculation. Preliminary forensic analysis suggested it had been buried for decades, potentially since the late 1950s or early 1960s. The metal's composition and weathering provided clues about its origin and age. Local residents began sharing old stories and family legends. Harold Jenkins, an 87-year-old retired naval officer, recalled stories from his father about secret maritime operations along the coast.
There were always rumors
He told local investigators.
about special missions that were never officially documented.
Scientific teams arrived from various universities. Forensic experts, maritime historians, and archaeological specialists converged on Sunset Cove. The small beach town transformed into a hub of scientific investigation. Dr. Elena Martinez, leading the forensic investigation, held a press conference that raised more questions than answers.
We're dealing with a potentially significant historical artifact.
She explained carefully.
Our initial analysis suggests this container has been deliberately concealed for decades.
Speculation ran wild. Was it a time capsule, a hidden military cache, evidence of a long-forgotten mission? Each theory seemed more exciting than the last. Local businesses capitalized on the excitement. The Sunset Cove Diner created a
Mystery Beach.
special. Souvenir shops began selling t-shirts with Luna's image and cryptic references to the discovery. Tourism suddenly spiked, with curious visitors flooding the small coastal town. Emma struggled with the sudden attention. Luna remained her primary concern, protecting her horse from the media frenzy. Veterinary specialists conducted extensive tests trying to understand how Luna had detected the buried container.
Horses have sensory capabilities far beyond human perception.
Explained Dr. Thomas Green, a leading veterinary behaviorist.
Luna's ability to pinpoint the exact location suggests an extraordinary sensitivity to environmental changes.
Government agencies began to show increased interest. Unmarked helicopters occasionally circled the area, adding to the growing sense of mystery. Local residents speculated about potential classified connections. The container itself remained the primary focus. Specialized preservation techniques were employed to prevent damage. Every millimeter was documented, every potential clue carefully examined. As days passed, the tension continued to mount. The small community of Sunset Cove found itself at the center of what could be a significant historical discovery. Luna, the horse who started it all, had become an unexpected hero. Emma watched the investigation unfold, understanding that her life and Luna's would never be the same. The mysterious container represented more than just a historical artifact. It was a connection to a hidden past, waiting to be revealed. The world waited with bated breath, eager to uncover the secrets buried beneath the sandy shores of Sunset Beach. The forensic team worked meticulously, carefully extracting the weathered metal container from the sandy beach. Dr. Elena Martinez led the operation, her hands steady and precise. Each movement was calculated, each layer of sand removed with surgical precision. Initial X-ray scans revealed complex internal compartments within the container. The metal showed signs of specialized coating, suggesting military-grade construction from the mid-20th century. Preliminary chemical analysis indicated potential preservation techniques used in classified government operations. Federal investigators arrived quietly, their dark suits contrasting sharply with the beach's golden sands. Special Agent Daniel Rodriguez from the Naval Historical Recovery Unit took charge of the initial examination. His credentials suggested decades of experience with maritime historical investigations.
We're dealing with something extraordinary.
Rodriguez explained to Emma Thompson, who watched nervously nearby. Luna stood protectively close to her, seemingly aware of the significance of the moment. Specialized preservation techniques were immediately implemented. The container was transported to a secure mobile laboratory set up in a converted truck near the beach. Climate-controlled environments protected the artifact from potential degradation. Forensic experts worked in shifts, documenting every microscopic detail. Specialized cameras captured high-resolution images of the container's surface. Each marking, each subtle indentation became a potential clue to its origin and contents. Historical researchers cross-referenced maritime records from the 1950s and 1960s. Old naval logs, classified documents, and archived communications were carefully examined. Patterns began to emerge, suggesting a connection to classified maritime reconnaissance missions. Dr. Martinez discovered unusual metallic alloys in the container's construction.
These materials were not standard for civilian use.
She noted during a preliminary briefing.
We're looking at something specifically designed for specialized operations.
Local maritime historians were brought in to provide context. Michael Reynolds from the Sunset Cove Maritime Museum identified potential geographical connections. Old naval charts were compared, potential mission routes carefully analyzed. The investigation attracted international attention. Scientific journals began preparing preliminary reports. Academic researchers requested access to initial findings. The small beach town became an unexpected center of historical investigation. Technological analysis proceeded carefully. Ground-penetrating radar, spectral imaging, and advanced chemical testing provided layers of information. Each test revealed more complexity, deepening the mystery surrounding the container. Emma Thompson remained close to the investigation, with Luna never far from her side. The horse seemed to maintain an inexplicable connection to the discovery, watching the proceedings with an almost intelligent awareness. As days passed, the investigation revealed increasingly intricate details. The container's origins began to take shape, a complex narrative emerging from decades of secrecy. The breakthrough came unexpectedly during a late-night research session. Dr. Elena Martinez and Special Agent Daniel Rodriguez pored over declassified documents, tracing a complex web of maritime intelligence operations from the Cold War era. The container discovered by Luna the horse was linked to Operation Seahawk, a top-secret naval reconnaissance mission that had been virtually erased from official records. Fragments of documentation suggested a covert operation conducted in 1958, involving a specialized underwater research team from the US Navy's most secretive intelligence division. Historical records painted a fragmented picture. In the midst of escalating tensions between the United States and Soviet Union, a small team of naval intelligence officers had been dispatched on a mission so classified that even most high-ranking military personnel remained unaware of its existence. The team's objective remained shrouded in mystery, with only cryptic references in heavily redacted documents. Emma Thompson discovered her own unexpected connection to the story. Her grandfather, Thomas Henderson, had been a naval communications specialist during that exact period. Family albums revealed photographs of a man who seemed to match one of the blurred images found in the classified documents. Interviews with retired naval personnel began to fill in the gaps. Robert Calloway, now 87 and living in a retirement community in San Diego, had been a junior communications officer during the late 1950s. His testimony provided crucial insights.
There were whispers.
Calloway recalled, his voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and lingering caution.
Something about a mission that went beyond standard reconnaissance. We knew something significant had happened, but the details were always kept under strict confidentiality.
Forensic analysis of the container revealed multiple layers of technological sophistication far ahead of its time. Specialized alloys, intricate sealing mechanisms, and internal compartments suggested a purpose far more complex than simple storage. Geological studies of the beach area revealed additional context. Underwater topographical maps from the late 1950s showed significant geological changes, indicating potential underwater activities that had never been officially documented. International researchers became involved. Dr. Mikhail Volkov, a Russian maritime historian, provided unexpected corroboration from Soviet-era archives. His research suggested a parallel mission conducted by Soviet intelligence during the same period, hinting at a complex international operation. The container's contents began to emerge through careful preservation techniques. Specialized documents preserved through advanced chemical stabilization revealed fragments of a mission that seemed to bridge multiple intelligence agencies and international boundaries. Emma's connection deepened as more information came to light. Her grandfather's personal journals, discovered in an old family storage unit, contained cryptic notes that aligned precisely with the emerging historical narrative. Coded messages, geographical coordinates, and references to a mission known only by the codename
Poseidon's Whisper
suggested a narrative far more complex than anyone had initially imagined. Technological analysis revealed advanced communication technologies that seemed decades ahead of their time. Miniaturized recording devices, specialized encryption methods, and communication protocols that defied the technological limitations of the 1950s suggested an extraordinary level of scientific advancement. The investigation attracted global attention. Scientific journals, military historians, and international intelligence agencies began requesting access to the preliminary findings. What had started as a mysterious discovery on a small beach was transforming into a potential rewriting of Cold War historical understanding. Local maritime museums became involved. The Sunset Cove Maritime Museum prepared a special exhibit, working closely with federal investigators to create a narrative that balanced historical accuracy with the sensitivity of ongoing investigations. Luna, the horse who had initially discovered the container, became an unexpected symbol of the investigation. Photographs of the horse standing near the research team became viral, representing the serendipitous nature of historical discovery. As weeks turned into months, the investigation continued to unveil layers of complexity. Each revelation seemed to generate more questions, creating a narrative that challenged existing understanding of maritime intelligence operations during one of the most tension-filled periods of global history. The story of Operation Seahawk was far from complete, but the discovery on the beach had opened a window into a world of historical mystery that would captivate researchers and the public for years to come. Emma Thompson's personal journey intertwined deeply with the unfolding mystery. revealing a complex tapestry of family history and unexpected connections. Her connection to the discovery went far beyond mere coincidence, weaving a narrative that spanned generations and challenged everything she thought she knew about her family's past. Growing up in a small coastal town in California, Emma had always been close to her grandfather, Thomas Henderson. He was a quiet man with piercing blue eyes that seemed to hold countless untold stories. Throughout her childhood, she remembered fragments of conversations, hushed discussions between her grandparents, cryptic references to missions and secrets that were never fully explained. Thomas had been a communications specialist in the US Navy during the late 1950s, a period of intense global tension. He rarely spoke about his military service, and when he did, his words were carefully measured. Emma's grandmother, Margaret, would often change the subject, a subtle warning glinting in her eyes. As the investigation into the beach discovery progressed, Emma began to piece together fragments of her family's hidden history. Her first breakthrough came while sorting through her grandfather's personal effects, a collection of meticulously preserved documents, photographs, and personal journals that had been locked away for decades. The journals were a revelation. Written in a precise, almost clinical handwriting, they contained coded entries that hinted at a mission far more complex than standard naval operations. Geographical coordinates, technical diagrams, and cryptic notes about underwater research began to paint a picture of extraordinary complexity. Emma's research led her to connect with Dr. Elena Martinez, the lead investigator of the beach discovery. Their initial meeting was charged with anticipation. Martinez carefully examined the journals, her expert eye catching nuances that Emma had overlooked.
These aren't just random notes.
Dr. Martinez explained, spreading the documents across a large conference table.
These are detailed observations of a highly specialized mission. Your grandfather was not just a communications specialist, he was a key participant in something much larger.
Family interviews revealed additional layers. Emma's uncle, Robert Henderson, now in his late 70s, had always been reluctant to discuss his father's military service. But the recent discoveries seemed to unlock something within him.
Dad was different after that mission,
Robert recalled, his voice tinged with a mixture of respect and unresolved curiosity.
He would sometimes wake up in the middle of the night muttering coordinates and technical specifications. Mom would calm him down, but we never understood what haunted him.
Genealogical research uncovered unexpected connections. Emma discovered that her family's maritime history ran deeper than she had ever imagined. Her great-grandfather had been a merchant marine. Her grandmother's side included several naval officers, and multiple family members had worked in maritime-related industries. The container discovered on the beach seemed to be a missing piece of a much larger puzzle. Forensic analysis revealed specialized communication equipment that aligned perfectly with technical drawings found in Thomas Henderson's journals. It was as if the container was a physical manifestation of the stories her grandfather had never told. International researchers became intrigued by Emma's family connection. Dr. Mikhail Volkov, the Russian maritime historian, discovered parallel documentation that suggested Thomas Henderson had been part of a joint international research team, a collaboration that existed far beneath the surface of Cold War tensions. Emma's professional background as a marine biologist suddenly took on new significance. Her lifelong fascination with maritime research, which she had always attributed to personal interest, now seemed like an inherited calling. The very skills and curiosity that had defined her career appeared to be deeply rooted in her family's hidden history. Psychological evaluations of the family revealed intriguing patterns. Multiple generations showed similar cognitive traits, exceptional spatial reasoning, advanced pattern recognition, and an almost intuitive understanding of complex technological systems. These weren't just coincidences, they suggested a deeper, genetic connection to the mysterious mission. The local community became fascinated by Emma's story. The small coastal town, which had always been proud of its maritime heritage, now found itself at the center of an international historical investigation. Local historians began documenting the unfolding narrative, recognizing its potential significance. As more information emerged, Emma faced a profound personal journey of discovery. The quiet, reserved grandfather she had known was transforming into a complex historical figure, a man who had been part of a mission that challenged the very understanding of maritime intelligence during the Cold War. Her mother, initially skeptical, became increasingly involved in the research. Family gatherings transformed into intense discussion sessions, with relatives sharing long-suppressed memories and fragments of stories that had been kept silent for decades. The investigation was more than a historical exploration. It was a deeply personal reconciliation. Emma was not just uncovering a mission, she was understanding her family's legacy, the sacrifices made, and the secrets kept to protect national security. As the research continued, Emma realized that the container discovered by Luna the horse was more than a historical artifact. It was a bridge, connecting past to present, family to history, and personal mystery to global significance. The story of Thomas Henderson, the mysterious mission, and the unexpected beach discovery was far from over. Each revelation promised more questions, more connections, and a deeper understanding of a world that had existed just beneath the surface of known history. The final resolution of the beach discovery unfolded with a complexity that few could have anticipated, as international teams of researchers, historians, and forensic experts converged on the small coastal community. The implications of the find began to ripple outward, touching lives and revealing secrets that had remained buried for decades. The container, carefully extracted and transported to a specialized research facility, underwent months of meticulous examination. Dr. Elena Martinez led a multinational team that included experts from maritime archaeology, military history, and advanced technological analysis. What they discovered exceeded even their most ambitious expectations. The container was not simply a forgotten piece of military equipment, but a sophisticated communication and research module that predated most known technological systems of its time. Intricate circuitry, preserved remarkably well by the unique environmental conditions, suggested a level of technological advancement that was decades ahead of its perceived era. Governmental agencies from multiple countries became involved. Classified documents were gradually declassified, revealing a collaborative international research project that had been so secretive that even most high-ranking military officials had been unaware of its existence. The project, codenamed
Deep Horizon,
was a joint effort that transcended the typical Cold War boundaries, involving scientific teams from the United States, Soviet Union, and several European nations. Emma Thompson found herself at the center of this unfolding narrative. Her grandfather's journals, once cryptic and seemingly disconnected, now became crucial pieces of a much larger historical puzzle. Thomas Henderson emerged, not just as a naval communications specialist, but as a key participant in a groundbreaking international scientific initiative. The research focused on maritime communication technologies, deep-sea exploration, and communication methods that could potentially survive extreme environmental conditions. The container discovered on the beach was a prototype communication module designed to maintain contact in scenarios that traditional communication systems would fail, including potential deep-sea rescue operations, underwater research, and emergency maritime communications. Forensic analysis revealed layers of technological innovation that challenged existing historical narratives. The communication systems within the container demonstrated encryption methods that were considered impossible for their time. Quantum communication principles seem to have been explored decades before they were theoretically understood by mainstream scientific communities. International press coverage transformed the small coastal town into a global focal point. Documentarians, researchers, and journalists descended, each seeking to unravel the mystery. The local community, initially overwhelmed, began to embrace their newfound historical significance. Museums prepared exhibits, local schools developed educational programs, and tourism saw an unexpected boost. The economic and cultural impact was substantial. The town that had once been a quiet coastal community became a center of historical and technological research. Universities established research partnerships, Technology companies showed interest in the recovered systems, and government funding began to flow into the region. For Emma Thompson, the resolution brought both closure and new beginnings. Her grandfather's legacy was no longer a collection of whispered family stories, but a documented contribution to international scientific understanding. She found herself giving lectures, participating in documentaries, and becoming an unexpected bridge between historical research and contemporary technological exploration. The psychological impact on the Henderson family was profound. Generations of kept secrets, of hushed conversations and unspoken tensions began to dissolve. Family reunions became occasions of discovery, with relatives sharing newly understood fragments of their shared history. The military veterans in the family found a new sense of pride, understanding that their service had been part of something far more significant than they had previously known. International diplomatic channels were subtly affected. The revelation of the
Deep Horizon
project demonstrated a level of scientific cooperation that existed beneath the surface of Cold War tensions. Historians began to re-examine the narrative of international relations during that complex period, recognizing that collaboration often occurred in ways never before understood. Technological companies showed immense interest in the recovered communication systems. The encryption methods and communication principles discovered in the container suggested potential applications in modern satellite communications, deep-sea research, and emergency communication technologies. Several major tech firms initiated research programs directly inspired by the findings. The scientific community was particularly excited. The container represented a missing link in understanding technological development during a critical period of global scientific research. Conferences were organized, academic papers were published, and new research initiatives were launched, all stemming from this unexpected discovery on a quiet beach. Legal and ethical discussions emerged around the ownership and distribution of the discovered technologies. International committees were formed to ensure that the research findings would be shared equitably, preventing any single nation or corporation from monopolizing the potential technological advancements. Emma's personal journey became a symbol of historical discovery. She established a foundation dedicated to preserving maritime research history, creating scholarships for young researchers, and supporting interdisciplinary scientific exploration. Her story inspired a new generation of scientists and researchers to look beyond conventional boundaries. The horse, Luna, who had initially started digging on the beach, became an unexpected celebrity. Local media celebrated her role in uncovering a piece of hidden history. Animal behaviorists studied her actions, suggesting that her unusual behavior might have been triggered by subtle environmental or electromagnetic signals from the buried container. As years passed, the beach discovery became more than just a historical footnote. It represented a testament to human curiosity, international cooperation, and the unexpected ways that history can be uncovered. The container that Luna had helped discover became a symbol of hidden connections, of stories waiting to be told, and of the extraordinary potential that lies just beneath the surface of our understanding. The final resolution was not an ending, but a beginning. A reminder that history is never truly settled, that discoveries can emerge from the most unexpected places, and that every buried secret holds the potential to reshape our understanding of the world.